tuia nā kōrero, tuia nā wānanga, tuia kia mau, whakamaua kia tīna, tīna, humie, huie, tai ki e. Tēnā koutou, ko Sarah Clark toko ingoa. I'm the CEO of the Social Workers Registration Board. Welcome to our little presentation on some of the work we've been doing. As a regulator, obviously professional standards is an important issue for us, and we've really been wanting to build some of the resources that we have available to you as practitioners. So you'll see on the slide that we have what we call our regulatory triangle. Lots of what we do as a regulator can feel like it's at the pointy end. What this is about is building the resources, tools, guidance, education stuff that sits at the bottom. And we've been really fortunate to have Megan, one of the social workers on our team, leading this work. And she spent a lot of time talking to people, working out what's going on to develop the work that she's going to talk about. And then we'll hand over to Emily to talk a bit more. So, Megan, obviously, you've been delving in here. What are some of the things that you found interesting in the undertaking this work?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. First of all, this has been a really exciting piece of work for me as I've been able to think about some of the common issues that come up for social workers in their day-to-day practice, and then really explore what the Code of Conduct has to say about those particular issues. I've also been able to talk to a whole lot of different social workers from around the Motu, which has been a great privilege, and seek their views on the types of resources that would be useful for them and also what formats would be useful for them.
Kia ora. So we'll hand over to Emily and she's going to talk you through the rest of the things we have available at the moment. Kia ora.
Thanks for that, Sarah and Megan. Ko waiaho, ko Emily Ranginui tōku ingoa. He urio no Waikare Moana, ko tūhoi me Ruapani ngā iwi, e noho ana ki Kirikiri ro Ināianei. So I work for the Social Work Registration Board. My role is a kākaho niho taniwha or Professional Advisor Social Work. Thanks heaps for joining us and listening to our presentation about the Code of Conduct in Practice resources. So let's start by putting the Code of Conduct in context. The Code sets out the minimum professional standards of integrity and conduct that apply to social workers, which contributes to the public safety. The Code also lets clients and the public know the standards of conduct they can expect from social workers. The SWRB issues the Code in accordance with Section 105 of the Social Workers Registration Act 2003. With the Code comes expectations of the social workers. First of all, social workers are expected to uphold exemplary standards of conduct. This is because we are in positions of trust and confidence. Secondly, we must also have high standards in our personal lives so that our suitability to be a social worker isn't called into question. The Code therefore helps to guide the conduct of social workers. It consists of a framework of 11 overarching principles, which are a general guide to professional conduct. Each principle has statements describing the standards of professional conduct and practice required of social workers. For example, Principle 1 is act with integrity and honesty. And under this principle sits 7 different statements that describe the behaviours that are expected of social workers. For example, you are expected to act honestly and ethically in all personal and professional behaviour. We are now going to explore the topic of social media and personal beliefs and what the Code of Conduct has to say about this. As social workers, we are used to working in the grey zone with difficult issues that are often bound up in multiple variables and complexities. Even the notion of confidentiality is often grounded in cultural understandings, be they Māori, European, or Pacifica. So a general warning, you may not find clear-cut answers to all your questions today. There are 3 questions we will be exploring in today's presentation. which you can reflect on as we work through the slides. 1. Can I say what I think online? 2. Do I always have to agree with work policies? 3. How can I advocate if I feel strongly about an issue of social justice? The SWRB receives notifications about the inappropriate use of social media by registered social workers. These may take the form of complaints or concerns raised by members of the public. People receiving social work services, employers or colleagues, even from family or whānau. Some examples of notifications we've received relating to the inappropriate use of social media by social workers include social workers using their personal social media platforms to promote their views which are against the law or against the mandates of the organisation they work for, such as pro-conversion therapy and anti-vaccination messages. The promotion of views that could be interpreted as discriminatory, such as racist or homophobic comments. Registered social workers using social media to send direct messages and or write posts about others which are threatening, harassing and or bullying in their nature. Social workers making disparaging remarks about the reputation of their employers and or colleagues. The most serious disciplinary cases concerning social workers are referred to the Social Workers Complaints and Disciplinary Tribunal and is the disciplinary decision-making body which is quasi-judicial and its process is similar to that of a court. Tribunal decision details and appeals are published on our website. One example of a tribunal decision that related to social media was a case where a social worker made threatening and disparaging remarks on social media about the reputation of an ex-employer and work colleague. There were other issues identified too about this social worker engaging in an unprofessional and or inappropriate relationship with a client of the service they worked for. The tribunal found that the social worker had breached the following principles in a manner that required disciplinary sanction. Principle 1, act with integrity and honesty. Principle 5, protect the rights and promote the interests of clients. Principle 6, strive to establish and maintain the trust and confidence of clients. Principle 8, work openly and respectfully with colleagues. Principle 9, maintain public trust and confidence in the social work profession. The social workers' registration was cancelled and they were censured. Social workers are placed in positions of trust and responsibility through their role. They are expected to act honestly and with integrity. It is expected that social workers maintain a high standard of professional and personal behaviour and avoid activities, both in and outside of work, that may in any way bring the social work profession into disrepute. This applies equally when using social media and electronic forms of communication. This social worker failed to maintain the high standard of professional and personal behaviour that was expected of them and brought the social work profession into disrepute. A second example of a tribunal case that related to social media was a case where a social worker sent inappropriate messages via their personal Facebook Messenger account to a 14-year-old girl who was enrolled in a program for vulnerable children run by the organisation that employed the social worker. The social worker worked on the program that the teenage girl was attending. The nature and extent of the social worker's conduct breached principles 1, 5, 7, 9 and 10 of the Code of Conduct applying to social workers. The tribunal also found the social worker breached the Code of Conduct in that they failed to act ethically, formed an inappropriate relationship with a teenage girl, failed in the course of their messaging to protect the privacy of another client's personal information, brought disrepute to the social work profession, and failed to set and maintain clear and appropriate personal and professional boundaries in their online communications with the teenage girl. There is an implicit power imbalance in a social worker and client relationship. Breaches of trust and of professional boundaries are always likely to adversely impact the client involved. Social workers who are involved in delivering courses or providing professional services to vulnerable clients, particularly youth, cannot be friends with those clients. In this case, the tribunal ordered censure, cancellation of registration and expenses of the hearing, and publication of the decision. There are three specific principles in the Code of Conduct that are particularly relevant to social media use by social workers. They are Principles 3, 9, and 10. Principle 3 is respect the cultural needs and values of the client. This also includes diversity of ethnicity, disability, economic status, age, sexuality, gender, faith, and beliefs. Be aware of any personal or religious beliefs or moral positions you have. Make sure these do not override a client's right to self-determination and to receive a quality social work service. Principle 9 is maintain public trust and confidence in the social work profession. This includes maintaining a high standard of professional and personal behaviour, avoiding activities, work or non-work that may in any way bring the social work profession into disrepute. These same standards of conduct are expected when using social media and electronic forms of communication. In relation to social media, this means you must carefully consider what you post or write on social media, such as Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, forums, etc. Before posting anything, think about who might view it and how they might interpret it. Consider that anything posted online has the potential to be seen by a wider audience than originally intended, even if posted in a private group. Think before you post. You may feel passionate about it today, but tomorrow could be a different story. Principle 10 is keep accurate records and use technology effectively and safely. This includes being aware of the dynamics, advantages, and limitations of technology-based interactions, and the ways in which technology-based social work practice can be safely and appropriately conducted. Consider all social media posts to be public and permanent. Once information has been posted online, it can remain traceable even if it is later deleted. Remember, people can video and screenshot posts and messages, and information can quickly spread beyond a person's control. This also applies to messaging platforms such as Messenger and WhatsApp. Anyone may search for information about you on the internet. Be aware that your personal online profile may disclose considerable personal information about you, your whānau, and what you do in your leisure time. You may unintentionally inform others of your political, religious, or moral beliefs, social activities, and personal relationships. Make sure privacy settings are at the appropriate level. If you see a colleague or another social worker putting themselves at risk on social media or behaving inappropriately, consider letting them know. In a discreet way, encourage them to withdraw the information. If this doesn't work, you may decide to contact the SWRB. But never use social media as a way of disclosing the professional misconduct of others. Below are some questions that you could consider using in supervision to reflect on the topic of personal beliefs and social media use. 1. How do we ensure that we don't put our own personal views before the best interests of the person we are working with? 2. How do we make sure our personal views don't override others' right to self-determination and to receiving a quality social work service? 3. How are we ensuring that we respect the cultural needs, values, and diversity of those with whom we are working, even when those are different to our own values? 4. How are we being mindful of how clients may interpret our personal views in the public arena? They may not perceive the difference between our professional and personal selves. 5. How do we maintain a high standard of professional and personal behaviour both during and outside work? How do we make sure we avoid activities that may bring the social work profession into disrepute? 6. How do we ensure that we carefully consider what we post or write on social media, bearing in mind that all online posts are traceable and have the potential to be captured permanently by others? In summary, as a social worker, you can, of course, have your own personal views on a government policy or mandate, or have moral standpoints on different topics. Social workers often have different views on policy matters and also regularly act as advocates for service users. However, if personal views are shared and promoted publicly, such as through social media, then these are no longer personal and have the potential to be captured permanently by others. When using social media, be aware of the impact your actions may have on the reputation of the social work profession. Consider whether your online activity could prevent safe professional practice and may subsequently be in breach of the SWRB Code of Conduct. You can find further information and related advice about the topic of social media use and personal beliefs on the SWRB website and the ANZ ASW website. Ngā mihi koutou for listening to this presentation. You can find our suite of Code of Conduct and Practice resources at swrb.govt.nz. From the homepage, click on the Social Workers tab at the top and then the resources. If you have any questions, please email us at office@swrb.govt.nz.
Kia ora, thank you Emily for taking us through that, and thanks again to Megan for all her work on this. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and of course all of that information is available on our website. And I'll close with our karakia. Tukua ngā kōrero, tukua ngā wānanga, tukua kia iri, whakairia kia tina, tina, humie, huie, tai kie.